Middle Eastern cuisine differ? What do you mean? I get Mediterranean chicken normally. But today I went Asian with it. Teriyaki chicken. All right. Yeah, she's 27 and I think her husband is like 60 or something. She is a great example of how much evil ages you. I swear to God. She's 27 years old. She's married to like a 60-year-old dude. And she looks like she's 40. Also, Laura Loomer is another example of like what evil does to the body, the mind, the soul.
That event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from the story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal. And that would have to be requested and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
Why did you fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them.
She's 27, Omega Law. It's the craziest piece of information about Caroline Leavitt.
As pressure builds on the Trump administration to release the Jeffrey Epstein files, President Trump lashing out at members of his own party.
They're stupid people. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats and some stupid Republicans.
Last week, a memo from the DOJ and FBI concluded that a so-called client list did not...
monkey's paw curled. I'm going to weigh it now.
...exist and confirm Epstein died by suicide in 2019. Trump yesterday defending the leaders of the agencies behind that memo, FBI Director Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Do you still have confidence in that team, sir? Total.
Asked about the possibility of appointing a special counsel to investigate the Epstein case, Trump saying this.
I have nothing to do with it.
Some Democrats argue the president who engaged socially with Epstein in the 90s and early 2000s is acting suspiciously. One congressman telling Vanity Fair, it seems like he's trying to cover up for something or somebody. At the same time, Republicans argue there must be more transparency.
I think that this government holds on to so many secrets that are unnecessary, and I think that look, the public wants answers on this. I mean, this was a campaign issue.
House Speaker Mike Johnson insisting he's on the same page as Trump.
I mean, there are, whistleblowers and minors' names involved. You got to be careful not to release that.
Johnson also saying Americans deserve more information.
We're for transparency. You need to have all of the credit.
There are minors involved thing is so crazy because no one wants the name of the victims. Even adults. People don't want the names of the fucking victims at all. People don't want to see the victims. This has nothing to do with the victims. It is such a stupid way to fucking argue this position where they're just like, oh, it's weird. It's like you just want to see this creepy stuff. Oh, you're creepy and gross. It's like, no, dude. No, we want justice. Fucking Christ. No one even believes that. Like, I don't even think anybody actually goes around Like, I don't know a single person that's been convinced by this beyond people who are trying to use it cynically as a point to why the Republicans keep blocking the fucking revelations.
Incredible information.
Overnight, former Vice President Mike Pence calling for the files to be released.
I know of no reason why this administration, once the victims' names are protected, should not release all the files on Jeffrey Epstein.
And now one of the most influential voices in the MAGA movement saying the public should know more.
It's been 10 days since you've leaked this thing on the holiday weekend, and you still have not done a straight to camera, straight to the sticks press conference. Here's what we looked for. Here's what actually existed. Here's why we reached the conclusion that we did.
And new polling shows a majority of Americans are not happy with the government's handling of the Epstein files. Just 17% of people approving. 2/3 of those polled say they think the government is covering up evidence.
Let's bring in NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez, NBC's Julie Sirkin on Capitol Hill, and former federal prosecutor and Politico magazine senior writer Ankush Khajuri. So, Gabe, the president now lashing out at his own supporters, and yet this backlash is only growing. Trump ally Laura Loomer even warning that this issue could consume his presidency. Where's the White House thinking on this morning?
Well, Anna, it is very interesting. This is what you'd expect from the president. Whenever he feels backed into a corner, he really lashes out against who is attacking him. In this case, however, he's punching back at his own supporters. That's what really makes this so unusual. But if you talk to the White House,
like, the whole point is you do the Jeffrey Epstein style stuff. And I'll say, like, I'll put like trans issues in that same bracket, right? Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein's a real ongoing problem as opposed to trans issues being like a simple distraction that the administration uses. But that's like supposed to be a part of the things that you do give the people so that they don't pay attention to you fucking them over by cutting their Medicaid, right? In the process of offering tax cuts to the super wealthy. So when you don't give them the treats, the treats that they are demanding, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? This is the thing. This is the only thing I care about. It's like, there's almost a nihilistic attitude that is presented by a lot of people in the base where they're like, we know that you're not going to do anything, but we thought you would at least like expose some pedophiles and like fuck up the system a little bit. And all you've done is fuck up the system in the wrong direction in the same way that like any other Republican would. You stopped 0 wars and you won't even give us the Epstein shit. What the fuck?
they feel they've done all they can here. They're still backing the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. The president publicly is still sticking up for her. And they say that she's done all she could, that the DOJ put out that statement. The president has been asked about this repeatedly and says that Bondi briefed him very quickly, but that there's no that he's encouraging her to release any credible information here. And so that right now is the open question at this point. Will Bondi release anything more than she already has? But as far as we know, the president is still sticking by his attorney general, and the president himself is now lashing out at his supporters, trying to reframe this whole controversy.
Julie, we have seen Republicans on the Hill break with the president on this, and now that the president's ire is growing, are they backing down?
Sort of. I mean, some in his core MAGA base up here, especially in the House, I would say very different than Senate Republicans on this. They want to see this come out. They are questioning Pam Bondi. Some even called for a special counsel to take over. Lauren Boebert, for example, suggested it should be former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who is up for Attorney General, but that never went through. And so this is just an issue that has been brewing within the MAGA circles for years. I remember I even covered President Trump in his final days before his campaign this year, and he was talking about it, as were his allies, his conservative allies that he was bringing up on stage. Speaker Johnson, however, softening his tone earlier this week, suggesting this is a bigger issue, perhaps breaking for the first time that I've seen with the president so publicly, and then yesterday suggesting his words were taken out of context. Take a listen to this.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it.
I have been misquoted and misrepresented on all of that. Go watch the interview I did with Benny Johnson. I was very clear. I mean, we're for transparency. I'm saying the same thing.
Outside of stanchions.
Except they're not really saying the same things the president is. Sure, the president said Bondi could release some of these files, but here's the thing. Democrats are also keeping this issue completely front and center for Republicans. For example, yesterday I scooped a resolution in the Senate by Ruben Gallego that he's trying to push, essentially a messaging vote, but all of these designed to put Republicans in a hard spot and reaffirm their desire to either get these documents out there or keep them hidden on them.
It looks like there's some bipartisan legislation being pushed, or a resolution in the House, with Republican Thomas Massie signing on to Democrat Ro Khanna's resolution to try to force a vote on releasing the files as soon as next week. What's the likelihood of that happening, Julie?
And this is what I mean about the differences between Republicans in the Senate and the House. Yeah, Thomas Massie, a Republican.
What if Trump only releases the names of Democrats? First of all, he won't, because again, I'm going to go back to this one more time. Mutually assured pedophilia destruction. That's number one. Number two, he won't, because I don't even think his base would fucking agree to it. They'd be like, what do you mean? Oh, so you just held this back for no reason for weeks and said it was a fucking hoax when it was just the Democrats that were a part of the pedophilic elite? No shot. I think cat's out of the fucking bag. It's mutually assured pedophilic destruction, because if, like, what would stop people from being like, oh yeah, you think I'm only the person involved? Well, Trump is involved too. Dems have a copy of the list? Yeah, it's roll call.
Republican who has drawn the ire of the president basically all year long for a number of issues, teaming up with Ro Khanna, as you mentioned, to try and force a vote on the floor to essentially force the DOJ to release these documents, to get them all out there. The only issue is that resolution in the House will take 7 days before Massie and Khanna can even call around and start collecting signatures. They need 218, a majority, to be able to force Johnson's hand in getting this moving on the floor. And that's another tell here. If Johnson really wanted to force the DOJ to do this, he could by putting this on the floor himself. Clearly he doesn't, and trusts the president to do the right thing here when it comes to the Epstein case. But for Khanna and Massie's resolution, still a while to go on that.
Gabe, there's also the fact that the president's going back on his own promises to his supporters during the 2024 campaign that he would release the files. Take a look.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
Yes, I would.
We need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
How is it that my father could be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light?
The president, his vice president, his own son, all on the 2024 campaign trail, making something out of the Epstein files. Now he wants to disavow supporters who care about the Epstein files. Gabe,
like, the media is taking, like, the liberal side of the media is taking like a weird approach to it, where some people are basically using this as an attempt to, like, make fun of Donald Trump, to be like, see, this is what you get, because it's, like, obviously fucking, it's obviously, the Epstein stuff is obviously a conspiracy, and you trafficked in QAnon too much, and here, what you see is what you get, you know? I don't like that, because I don't think it's just a conspiracy at all.
No more investigations into Epstein. No special prosecutor.
Yeah, CoffeeZilla's been fucking pumping the Epstein vids. Look at this. He wants to bury the Epstein files. 1.7 million views. Raw Epstein footage was modified. 1.4 million views. The worst cover-up of my lifetime. 2.9 million views. The story keeps changing. 1.9 million views. He does a daily drop every day of the Epstein stuff, and it goes crazy. Which, under different circumstances, I would criticize other content creators for farming this, but I wouldn't say that about CoffeeZilla, because CoffeeZilla has been at the forefront Coffeezilla has been at the forefront of covering the criminal enterprise of the Trump administration, at least from his immediate place of knowledge. Like when it comes to cryptocurrency schemes and stuff, he has never stopped covering that shit. He is actually, it's been kind of funny watching him just like lose his mind at like how very openly illegal and criminal the Trump administration is, and yet no one seemingly cares. So I don't think he's like a bandwagoner on this issue. He has not shied away from doing actually like real journalism on the Trump stuff. For other slop tubers, though, they obviously have either shied away from saying anything mean about Donald Trump because they know what their audience wants. And this is their like break off point because they recognize that the it's time to jump ship, and they're fucking little rats that realize that the Titanic is sinking. Or they're still trying to do a shitty job of like defending Trump even. Do you think you and Coffee might ever talk? I do talk to him. Just not on camera. I have.
Prosecutor Trump is tripling, quadrupling down on the idea that it's all a big hoax, despite a lot of his party campaigning on this.
It was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work.
That's right. If you care about accountability for a trafficking ring, you're doing the work of the Democrats, apparently, and Trump doesn't want your support. This is another post from Truth Social where Trump says that it's a scam we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, despite him being one of the people heavily trafficking in this, and saying my past supporters have bought into this hook, line, and sinker. Clearly saying, if you care about the release of the Epstein files, you're not a real supporter of Trump anymore. You're a past supporter. Saying about his own supporters, let these weaklings continue because I don't want their support anymore. This obviously felt like a huge betrayal to a lot of the people who have supported Trump and expected him to come through on this promise. The last thing most of them were holding on to was the idea of a special prosecutor who could go into the Epstein case and try to get some transparency. In fact, it was reported that Donald Trump was okay with appointing a special prosecutor. This was according to John Solomon, who claimed this in an interview.
Any prompting, without me even asking yet, he says, I also think if that has a special prosecutor, that prosecutor should just look at anything credible about Jeffrey Epstein, and let's get this resolved. Let's get the American people the most transparency. Now, what does that mean? If there's a special prosecutor, this gets out of Pam Bondi's hands, it goes to an independent person. They look at it, they release what they can about it, and they tell the American people whatever the grand jury can squeeze out of it.
Now, this had many people saying, oh, this is great news. This will bring accountability, transparency. Here's Benny Johnson talking.
Bro. The other side of this, by the way, is that I don't even think they can fucking do that. Because if, like, there was a special prosecutor who would obviously be deeply connected to Donald Trump, and he came out and he did this, like, wishy-washy bullshit, maybe, like, offered a little bit additional information, people would be like, okay, you didn't give us anything, fuck you. So, like, there's that side of the story as well. Even if you do actually get a special prosecutor involved, and you, put together a report that reveals at least like whatever is not damaging to some of our billionaire elites. I don't think it would work.
about it.
There's been a dramatic change in approach. Very powerful people inside the administration are pushing for a special counsel, full press briefings on Epstein findings, and so on. And this is because of our voices that cannot be ignored.
Right. Voices that cannot be ignored, except they were just today by Caroline Leavitt, who says Trump is not in favor of a special prosecutor at all. It's not going to happen.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case.
Bro, it's pretty funny that there is no messaging discipline on this side, too. Normally, the Republican communication strategy is airtight. Trump says something. You hear it being rehashed a million times over from from Fox News all the way down to like a 57-person subscriber YouTube page, you know? In this issue, Trump says something and everyone on the independent sphere that actually has to be accountable to their audiences immediately panic. And because they panic in this situation, because they're panicins, they start over-promising. Where they're like, oh, there'll be a special investigator, a special prosecutor, I promise. And then Trump's like, nope, no special prosecutor at all. No investigation. It's done. It's a hoax. And if you care about it, you're stupid. And then they're like, oh, he didn't mean that. He didn't mean that you're stupid. He meant that, like, you're actually brilliant. I promise. He's like, no, I meant you're stupid. And then he'll even call up people who, again, are at least like a little bit more accountable or have to be more accountable to their audiences because they're, you know, approachable, because they're online content creators. They're not fucking Fox News commentators. And you'll call them up and be like, shut the fuck up about Jeffrey Epstein.
Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure.
Wow. That's how he feels. He feels like, we don't need more transparency. We don't need more accountability. We need to hush this up, okay? Trump has also responded when asked that he has nothing to do with a special investigation.
President Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it, guys. We've already done the investigation, and you should be pleased with what we put out. This was also said by Trump himself, the idea that we've already given you everything credible.
She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that?
Right. She's given us all the credible information. If she finds more, she will give us more. But we already got it. If you remember, Pam Bondi already gave us the phase 1, which just included a lot of already released information. At the time, they called this the first phase, which sheds light on Epstein's extensive network. An extensive network that now includes 2 people, Epstein.
Yeah, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, that's it. No one else. Please stop. That's the other side of this, like, where they literally, the phase 1 implies that there's supposed to be more phases. You don't just go, this is the phase 1 of the revelation, and then be like, there is no phase 2. Phase 2 is actually, fuck you, you're stupid. And also, we knew all along that it was the Democrats that wrote the list, and it was fake anyway. So we actually delivered a fake list that the Democrats wrote on our phase 1 transparency documents. I hope they drop the whole story eventually. I hope that no one drops this story, especially because this stuff is tied back to, in my opinion, a lot of the fucking illicit things that intelligence agencies have done, whether it be the Mossad or the CIA. And I do want shady billionaires and former heads of state and former intelligence, former heads of intelligence to be held accountable. So no. Oh, you meant drop the whole story eventually, as in like, oh, drop the files, like actually release the files. Got it. I misunderstood. Well, I didn't misunderstand you. You wrote that in the worst possible way. Like you made it seem like they're dropping an album. New Trump prank dropped. Holy shit, he looks awful. I see nothing wrong with this. Dropping an album is releasing it? No, I know, but I hope they drop this case in this circumstance implies like stop talking about it. That is, it's an understandable implication. I don't think I was wrong for assuming that that's what he was saying. But we cleared it up anyway. It doesn't matter. Yeah, release the Epstein cut is the real. Bro, what the fuck, man? He looks like a frog. Why does he look so toad-like? He is. This is the closest he's looked to Jabba the Hutt, low key. Like I never thought that human beings could achieve Jabba the Hutt status outside of Sheldon Adelson, and it feels like Trump is finally reaching peak Adelson. For those of you who don't know, Sheldon Adelson is a major. Well, he's dead now, but he was a casino magnate and also very Jabba the Hutt looking. His wife also has continued his tradition of giving Trump hundreds of millions of dollars so that Trump will do whatever Israel wants him to do. Pretty openly, too. Like, it's not, he was the biggest booster of the Republican Party. I used to always joke about how, like, these motherfuckers would be like, oh, George Soros. It's like, dude, Sheldon Adelson is the #1 donor to the Republican Party. Anyway, he's dead now. He was very hot, though, when he was alive. Yeah. Rest in piss. But, of course, Miriam lives on.
And Ghislaine Maxwell, really extensive. Kash Patel, by the way, quoted saying there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, except, of course, all the incredible information, right? You have credible information, you have incredible information that they're gonna hide from us, I guess. With these influencers who had the binder, I guess this is part of the Democrat hoax. Can't understand why they would do that. Now, as a rewind, though, what has really the FBI DOJ released that wasn't already public? Well, one of the biggest things was the tape, right? The tape of the prison cell, which actually wasn't the prison cell. It was the common area, which couldn't see Epstein's cell, which definitively proves everything. Except not only did it not show Epstein's cell, not only were there blind spots in the tape, we also had a Wired report showing that it was a modified file. This was something that went into Premiere Pro, was saved multiple times. We don't know what was changed, if anything. But now we have new reporting from Wired saying that Epstein's prison video had nearly 3 minutes cut out, which started at the, quote, missing minute. So I ask again, what credible information has really been released? The only thing that's been released is, ironically, not credible. Not only is this great for people like...
Yeah, this is great transparency, dude. There isn't. Andrew McCabe, former FBI deputy director, says the Epstein files shouldn't be released because there isn't actually any public right to be able to see sensitive FBI files. Oh my God, he's revealing. He's saying it. He's saying it. This is literally the fucking thing that I keep saying. They worked really hard for the fucking sex trafficking blackmail footage. The intelligence community and Epstein worked really it would be a shame to burn it. Have Eric Weinstein on? Mao? Fuck no. Why would I ever do that?
Prince Andrew, who's now traveling around. Guess who else this is great for? Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now appealing her whole conviction on the grounds that the government already gave her a non-prosecution agreement, or more specifically, Epstein a non-prosecution agreement. And we have this statement from Ghislaine Maxwell's family and her counsel of record saying, quote, "I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. Judges have previously dismissed her lawyers' arguments that she should have never been prosecuted because of a weird agreement drafted more than 15 years ago. But now, of course, this is at play again, given all the recent revelations and the fact that the family seems pretty directly to be appealing to Trump, which is an interesting turn of events if Maxwell has anything on him or someone else in power. They actually say,
I think what's crazy about the Ghislaine stuff also is that, like, she's talking like she can't get executed. You know what I mean? I don't know where she's getting this confidence that she might not have a mishap in prison. You know what I mean? Like, what leads you to believe that you won't also feel really sad all of a sudden? You know what I mean? Because that's what they packed up the Epstein stuff with that. They packed up the Epstein stuff with he was really, really sad. He was really sad that day. You know? Dead man switch? No, I don't know about that. Oh my God, you think she does? Well, why wouldn't Epstein have a dead man switch? If she has a fucking dead man switch, then I suspect Epstein would have one too.
explicitly, he's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise that the U.S. government made and broke. This itself raises large concerns, given that Trump not only seems to want the Epstein thing to go away, but also that he's wished Maxwell well many times.
Yeah, this part is fucking nutty. I mean, the whole, I wish her well. This is like one of I'm surprised, like, this is the only place we've seen it. Like, CoffeeZilla is one of the only places outside of myself that is, like, routinely covering Trump talking about Ghislaine Maxwell like a fucking scorned lover. Like, it is wild the way that Trump talks about Jeffrey fucking Epstein, and not Jeffrey Epstein necessarily, but Ghislaine Maxwell in particular. That's a weird way to talk about the fucking criminal pedophile sex trafficking ring operator, dude.
Maxwell is in prison I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
Can you explain who she is and how she's related to Epstein? Ghislaine Maxwell is the second in command to Ghislaine Maxwell. Her boyfriend died or maybe was killed. Nobody knows. Why is everyone being so disrespectful to her? I wish her well. Like, that's crazy. That is a crazy thing to say. That's not just like a political gaffe, okay? You are straight up humanizing a sex trafficker and her associate that participated in the sex trafficking, like criminally convicted, okay? When Trump is not exactly known for humanizing people, even who are his allies. Like, that's not like Trump at all.
Files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions. And they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people. But he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the east room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country.
Dude, this is like, they are Democrats, dude. They're behaving like the Democratic Party right now. Come on, look at all the victories. Look at all of Biden's victories. Why are you talking about inflation? Shut the fuck up about inflation. It's not real. It's a hoax. He did NATO. He did NATO, and not a single one of you is talking about how he accomplished AUKUS. It's so fucking funny. It is amazing watching them behave exactly the same, in the exact same ways that the Democrats have behaved. They're losing control. They're losing control of over the narrative. And this is what they're good at normally. This is what they do. Now the old tricks are not working. Ironically enough, part of the reason why the old tricks are not working is because they thought they could cynically use the Epstein thing like one of those tricks. They thought they could just like briefly allude to Jeffrey Epstein and then people would just like forget about it and then no one would demand answers. You know? No one would ever want more. Today I went with Ono Hawaiian barbecue as opposed to the regular Middle Eastern I go with. For chatters who are wondering what I'm eating. Oh shit. But it's spilling. There's a little bit of spillage.